Hi, today we're working on step 2 of our troubleshooting program for your coaching business. And before we start, I want to answer a few requests that I receive and that I actually anticipate. I understand that things that we're working on may not come easy, and the answers that you're looking for may not come easy either. And they're not supposed to. I mean, it takes work. It takes self-awareness, and there's a few layers of that work. But I really ask you to get from each step as much as you can. Something may not come right now, and then you will go for a walk and it'll just click in your head because you already turned your thoughts that way. So don't force yourself. Allow these things to come to you. Another thing is that maybe while working on other steps, you will find answers to the previous steps. Like today we'll be talking about format, and that may help you think about what it is that you are selling. You know that? So every step, do as much as you can. Allow things to come to you. Set your brain to this direction. And just, let it be. And move on to the next step and the next step, and allow ideas about the previous steps come to you. Besides, I definitely can help. This is what I do. I do strategy sessions, an hour and a half consultations, diving really deep into your personality, your business, what's natural to you, who's your audience, everything, to build that strategy on a very deep level. But I really don't want you to come to these sessions before you go through all the steps and try to figure out as much as you can on your own. Because when you rely on yourself, you can get to many more answers that you probably even expect. That may be enough for you, to make you busy with actions and with results. And only after you will want to go deeper with my help. And also, even if you go through all the steps and you still think that, there is more, and you want to find out more, or you want to have a better picture, like you get idea here, idea there, cannot put it together, and you need to put it together to start acting on it. It's fine, it's natural. But then you will have so much more understanding, awareness, and material than we can then work with, so your session will be more effective. And the money and the time that you'll spend on it will have much higher ROI, return on investment. And I really want you to use everything in the most efficient way. So please, every step, do as much as you can, dive as deep as you can. If there is something that you don't understand, you cannot find answers to, you're struggling to just wrap your brain around, it's fine, let it be. Let it come to you later, or bring it to a consultation, but only after you're done with all the steps. Be patient. So that's something that I really wanted to communicate with you before we move on. And today we move on to step 2. We're talking about format. So in step 1, we discussed what we sell, what is our offer, what people really want to buy with us, and what people feel motivated buying from us. Today we will talk about how we will deliver it. The reason that I put this subject into the troubleshooting program is because many coaches get subconsciously stuck in one and the same format that may not suit them at all. Many coaches can get stuck in a format they themselves sabotage. They pick this format because that's what they've been taught. They pick this format because that's what they think is right. Because somebody with authority said that. Or you got that format from some training or something. But if it doesn't suit you, your personality, who you are, how you interact with the world, you will sabotage it subconsciously. You will suffer it. And that will not be a successful business. So it's very important to troubleshoot the formats in which you coach. And there is a huge variety of possible formats that you can adopt. And please be bold and brave enough to create your own formats. It's totally worth it. It's totally acceptable. This is your business. This is your service. You are totally entitled to create the format that your common sense tells you is optimal for you and for your clients. So, the classic format that we all know in coaching is weekly sessions, about an hour each, during a certain period of time. This is not a very good format for so many people. It is a classic for the coaching industry, mostly because it simplifies the whole thing. It's a universal, simple solution. But it's not necessarily the most efficient one. There is economical justification to certain formats, like working on a longer projects, on a longer contracts, is considered better economically because it's easier to find one client and sign that client up for a longer time, so for more money, than looking for a new client all the time. That makes sense superficially, but in practice, if long-term work suffocates you, and if you're sincere with yourself, you can answer that question. If the long-term engagement with a client suffocates you, you will sabotage it subconsciously. You will seem like you're doing everything to get those contracts. But no, you're not. Subconsciously, you don't want those contracts because you understand that this is not natural for you to stick with a client for so long. For some people, it's totally fine. It's natural and it comes naturally and clients feel it. And your long-term engagement is organic. For others, other coaches and other clients, it's not. Like, I can only work, in short terms. One session. We dive deep, we do a lot. You get lots to act on, but it's just an hour and a half engagement. And maybe later on, you will need to go to the next step and you'll come back to me. This is my format. And it seems to not be very economically justified, but because it's so natural to me, it's pretty easy to find clients. Yes, it may seem easier to find clients, one client for a longer term than many clients on short term, but when I'm doing what comes naturally to me, people feel it, I feel it, I'm in the flow there. And it's not a problem for me to find, 10, 15, 20 short-term clients per month, then probably 2 long-term clients for half a year. That's what it is in reality. So what may make sense in theory will not prove itself in reality. And this is what you really need to pay attention to. Another question to the format is whether you want to do pure coaching or you feel that you are naturally inclined to mixing it with something else. Like you may not care to run purely coaching sessions all the time. You may not care to work one-on-one all the time, asking those questions and everything. You may really feel pumped to go out and, teach. Do a piece of motivation speaking. Offer a piece of, the tools that you developed during your coaching practice and put it into a training. If you feel naturally inclined to it, then don't let the industry standards stop you there. Yes, you can offer your experience, and you absolutely must, and you absolutely should, if that is what feels natural and comes natural to you. And again, it can be working with a group, it can be teaching to a group, and that would be different. It can be a recorded program where you offer something, not in a coaching way, but more in maybe consulting or teaching way. But if you're inclined to that, it will work for you. And if you are naturally inclined to that, you will feel that something is really missing when you're not using that. If you suppress your natural, inclinations, then you will not feel happy. To me, it was, I couldn't only coach because I had so much insight and so much experience and so much, strategic advice that I really wanted to offer to my clients. And I know that would be more effective to them. That, I was suffering. I was suffering when I only coached and limited myself with that format and, wouldn't offer something that's outside of coaching. So this is the second thing that you need to think about considering your formats. First thing is, what length of engagement are you more natural with? And let it be your most important criteria. Another one is, what are you naturally inclined to do? I had a client coach that she's a coach, but she is naturally very uncomfortable with too much engagement with people. Like she loves to do a few sessions, but if she has to do much more sessions, she was just suffering it. She didn't like it. And that's totally okay. She started writing books. She started recording seminars. And that totally works for her. And actually that attracts the one-on-one clients that are, that she enjoys working with. So, there you go. Next criteria. So first one is the length. Second one is what do you naturally inclined to deliver, and it may not be limited with pure coaching. And the third one is engage empathy and engage projection to understand what is most efficient. Like functionally, what works better? Here's another example. I have a coaching group, and I started coaching group in a fixed format, 6 months of coaching. In my last group, I noticed that my clients, and we meet every week, that they just cannot bring to action everything that we have discussed and everything that we have discovered during a coaching session. Like a week is not enough. And I noticed that we do more talking and insight hunting rather than actions. We hunt for insights, they feel great, but then they come back to the next session in a week not having even processed all of that, because it's a really deep and intense work. So understanding that in their results, in their life, it is not being efficient, although it's enjoyable, I offered that we meet once a month, that we do all this, we hunt a lot of insights during one session, and then during a month they can work on that and actually put that to action. And because that's probably how long it takes to put all that in action, to process that, to understand the actions, to put that in action, to get results, and then come back to a group coaching to get more, to move on, to really move on instead of being overwhelmed with all the talking and insights and realizations and awareness and all that. This is what I mean by efficiency. Look at what is more efficient. For some people, meeting with you every week is so excessive. Some people need a push. They are so good doing stuff on their own, and they just need a push, a one-time push to get to the next level. That's all they need. And that would be so efficient for them and of course for you. These are just examples. Yours will be based on what we talked about in the first step. Who are your people and what it is that you help them solve that's important to them. So the third criteria is consider efficiency. How efficient is your format? Not efficiency in terms of how much money you can make with less actions. No. Efficiency with how effective this format for your clients and for their goals. And to consider that, I suggest to employ empathy. That is, understanding them without having to be like them. Understanding them without having to be like them. So, you might feel that you really benefit from weekly sessions. But your clients may not. They may feel suffocated with weekly sessions, and they would really appreciate a chance of getting that one session that would push them, and they can continue doing their things on their own. This is where you employ empathy. You don't have to be like them to understand them. And employ projection. That is your own requirements. This is what I did when I introduced my breakthrough sessions. It was totally my projection. Like, I realized that I so much more grateful for a chance to get that one-time push and be left alone rather than meeting every week and feeling that it's just excessive. We talk about things and don't need it. Really don't need it. That projection also helped me understand something like, okay, so this is the classic and this is what I'm sticking to because I was told to and because, it just stuck in my brains. But I really appreciate a totally different thing. So why don't I consider that for my format? Doesn't matter what I'm used to, what I consider more efficient, what I would appreciate. These 2 points of view will help you find ideas and understanding of how you can better tweak your format so that your clients are willing to buy it because they understand, oh wow, that's cool. I don't need to stay with you and pay you for all this talking. I can actually, you give me a push and I will, wow, I want that. Or I want to be able to have your help ASAP. Maybe you're a crisis coach. You will find out that you act better when in crisis, firefighting. And then, people don't always have fires in crisis. Or, something like that. Think about it. Think what you will appreciate yourself sincerely. And employ empathy to understand what your people appreciate, and you may not share that. That's okay. But by knowing that it is valuable because you understand how valuable it is for them, by knowing that it's valuable by projecting, by understanding your own preferences or what works for you, by actually doing what you're naturally inclined to do and what you enjoy to do. And that may not be limited to pure coaching. And by choosing the time frames that are more natural to you. You can create the format of sessions that is very easy for you to sell because you're so deeply confident in the value. You can communicate that value, and your clients will understand the value because you actually considered their preferences in working on your format. And because of that, that approach will economically be so much more effective than anything that is economically right in theory. Because you will end up with better sales, you will end up with more clients, and you will end up enjoying the whole process. So there is no room for sabotaging it. So this is the second step for you. Please troubleshoot the format that you choose to deliver your coaching. Think outside the box. You don't have to stick with any particular format. Find something that is naturally long or short for you, employs your natural tendencies and inclinations and desires and skills, everything that you want to experience and do day in, day out. And how efficient it is. And I will see you in the video number 3.